Frankie, my friend, you got a crazy way of doing everything, man. You're a dedicated guy. You're probably waking up at like maybe 2 o'clock in the morning and you open the ornamental book and you're reading the type of species, the type of weed, the different cultivars for the different grass and turf. You know what I mean? You got it all in your head, man. And you're doing it, man.
Pull out your hose and grab your can. We're about to integrate another Pest Geek podcast. Hi, everybody. Frank Hernandez here, and welcome to the Pest Geek podcast, bringing you the latest information on pests, products, and politics from today's leading industry sources to help you start, manage, and grow your pest control business. Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to this edition of the Pest Geek podcast. We got a special guest today on the podcast. But I want to cover a couple of things with you that we got some really new, exciting stuff that I've been planning to do for the longest while. So we're doing a special feature on the Pest Geek podcast called Pest Pro Local or Pest Geek Local. And if you are a regional professional, and what classifies a professional? Well, if you're doing this and this is what you do for a living, you're a professional if you know what you're doing. So we want to bring on, promote local people on our podcast and our video podcast to promote them to clients, because we do get requests on the podcast for local people. Do you know a guy? I'm in California. I get calls on my line all the time. Our business is ranking nationwide. So it's been on my radar. I just haven't had the time to do it. No time like downtime to get it done. So if you are a local person that would like to do a podcast with me on a specialty local problem and how to solve that problem, how do you do it? And you want to give value to homeowners and to people listening and to other professionals on how you actually do this and you solve this problem, I would love to have you on my podcast. We'll do a video podcast. We SEO it for you. You get local geo tracking on that video, so that it is geo specific to your location, and we can promote you and help you. The other way that we're doing it is with Pest Pro Local. This is something that I've discussed with several people that I've been wanting to do for the longest time, but don't have the time. So Pest Pro Local is going to be it's going to be a state group that we're putting up. We have one for Florida right now, Texas, and California, which is about 50% of our audience and where most people are doing pest control. So we decided to give it a shot there. And what that is it's a group where you, as a local pest pro, sign up, get in, and I'm going to promote it, and people will be able to go on locally. And I live in, Southern California. I have this pest problem. Is there somebody that can help me? And then we can tag somebody that we know is in that area. You can comment, help them out, help them solve that problem. And, you might get a lead from it, because a lot of people, what they're confused about is they think they're going to be able to solve a lot of problems themselves. And when they need 3, 4, 5 products to do a simple job that looks simple, you can be the guy that helps them. So how much is this going to cost me, Frank? Look, it's going to cost you nothing, man. It's free. Why? I told you last year I'm going to do stuff like this. I told you I was doing things for the industry that nobody's doing. There's no association fee, no membership fee. What's the catch? There is no catch. Here's the simple reality. I understand this game. I understand how this social media thing works and how the new media works, and I've been discussing it to death forever. And those people that get it will be on there, will be effective, and they will get the leads. Those people that won't. It's just that simple. So if this is not appealing to you, you don't feel like you want to give away your free advice because it took you 15 years to earn it, and so did mine. I give it away every day on this podcast for free, and I give great value. And that's what I'm talking about, giving value. So if you're interested in any one of these, go ahead and look up Pest Pro Local. There's one in Florida, one in Texas, and one in California right now, and we'll see how that goes. And we're going to do the Pest Pro Local podcast. So you want to sign up. How do I do it, Frank? You go to my website, Pest Geek Podcast, hit the guest button, fill out the form and register. Don't PM me. Don't IM me. Don't send me, well, I want to talk about this, and what do you think about that? Look, you're the expert. You're the one that knows what you need to talk about. So if you'll come on my podcast, I'll give you a shot. Hey, I want to give a big shout out to my buddy Dennis Kucha at Wise House Environmental Services in Boynton Beach, Florida. Hey, if you're looking for a guy to do your lawn, garden, termites, give Dennis a call, 561-727-8239, or visit him at humanandpetfriendly.com. It's Wise House Environmental Services, 561-727-8239. And also, look, guys, if the phone isn't ringing, I mean, my phone started ringing last week, but I understand it hasn't been ringing for a lot of people. Some people are right now, they're cranking out the work, but others aren't. It might be the great time for you to get a vanity number. You've been thinking about it. Your business is doing great. You're expanding. You've got 5 trucks. And you've been thinking about getting one of those 888 got bugs or an easy to remember number like 1-800-600-500. Give Ring Boost a call. Go to ringboost.com. If you enter the promo code PEST15, you'll get 15% off any of the services that they have. If you go to Pest Geek Podcast /pest, you're going to get 15%, guys, off of everything. So give my buddy Andrew a call over there. He's going to take great care of you. Also, hey, if you guys are getting great value from this and you just saying, man, I really appreciate what you do, and you can afford $5 a month, go ahead and go to our Patreon page. If you go to pestgeekpodcast.com and you hit donate and you want to, hey, great, man. We can do a lot more things that we can provide for everybody for free. I really do appreciate it. Pestgeekpodcast.com, hit donate, or go to patreon.com/pestgeek. Hey, I want to give a special shout out to Daryl Turner over in Lakeland, Florida. Hey, if you're looking for a local pest control guy that services Polk County, Florida, go visit my friend Daryl Turner at pestcartel.com or call him at 863-225-2803. That's 863-225-2803. Daryl Turner at the Pest Cartel. And now, on to our special guest. But we're live with Dylon Gannan of Rodent Sensor, and you are in Australia.
Sure am.
Okay. Good
day to everybody, I guess.
Yeah. So what time is it there now? Midnight right now?
Just on midnight.
Just a midnight.
I'm
okay,
on
cool.
out, so no problems with me.
Yeah, it's a little slow, but it's okay. We should be able. The internet's a little slow on that end, but I think we're good. So you've come up with a new device right now called Rodent Sensor, and it's the Rodent Sensor system. Before we get into it, give people your background on you, and then we'll get into how you got into this, because it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, okay. So I am 30 years old now, and I'm just about to finish my engineering degree in robotics, but I've specialized in low-power electronics and long-range communication. But I only started that about 5 years ago now when I was 25. Before that, I was doing laboring. I even did about 4 months in pest control, so that's what led me to realize that there's some good opportunities for electronics in rodent control. But I also realized that there's a lot about pest control that I don't know, so that's why I started reaching out to as many pest controllers as I can. But back to the history of me, five years ago started the robotics, and it's been good.
So you're studying robotics, and you studied long range communications, and you worked in it led. What was the aha moment for you that said, I'm working in robotics, I'm going to make a device to simply monitor rodent stations? I mean, how did that even? I would be thinking you'd be working on how to cure paralysis, but you got into, rodent. I mean, I find that fascinating. How did you come into that? How did you get the idea?
Yeah, so we have, we're a beef capital of Australia in Rockhampton. So my granddad actually has a cattle property.
Okay.
So from my connection with cattle farming and all that stuff, I actually got a job at the university in the research section.
Okay.
And part of my job was tracking livestock, or finding the best way to track livestock. So that's what really sparked my interest in making those low-power electronics and tinkering around with the best ways to get that data from anywhere in the most difficult situation. And on livestock, I mean, they do not cooperate. They don't stand out in the sun to recharge their solar panels. They don't do much at all. And so working through that's really what inspired me to start my own business, because building tech with the university, there's a lot of bureaucracy involved, and I really just wanted to do my own thing. So I started up my own business, and what we actually have done in my business is develop a long-range temperature sensor for orchards, and that's what the university is using for some research there, which is pretty exciting. And I reached out to a local pest controller after we finished with that, and I asked him if he's got any problems that he wanted solved. And since I did a few months in the pest control, that's where I thought I should reach out to. And the guy that I reached out to just happened to absolutely love electronics as well, but not have too much idea of how to progress with anything. So we worked together a bit and developed our very first prototype, which is really, really base level stuff. This is, I 3D printed the whole thing. So this was about eight months ago that I printed this guy out. I don't know if you guys can see that quite well.
Nice.
And it just had wires sticking out everywhere, but this was a proof of concept. And you can see the metal cage behind me. We stuck it in that because, everything needs to be secure when you stick it out in the field. So it was all 3D printed, so we couldn't make it secure enough for us to be confident. It worked. And I was like, this is the greatest thing in the world. So I just gun-hoed at 100 miles an hour and started trying to figure out what the next step was. And I realized the next step's quite difficult. So I ended up joining forces with another local company, and he's just a one-man show. But he has 30 years knowledge in electronics for building commercial products. So he helped me bring that prototype to life. We're now at our third version of our commercial electronics part, and that should be turning up quite soon. And the only reason we're going through these versions is trying to get that cost down, because that's one of the key features. Right. So the actual electronics, the weighing of the bait, the detecting the activity, that's all going ahead. That's proven. Now it's just a matter of getting it into something that's cheap enough, something that works for everybody. And while I've been reaching out to companies, what I'm realizing is that there's so much more than just having electronics that work, which is what I've been focusing on for a while now. So in the last 2 to 3 months, as I've been talking to pest control companies, I realized that, and in your video where you talk about the exterior rodent stations, the bricks on it, you need to be able to clean them easily, and you need to be able to operate them easily. You need to be able to put them up and place them down. So I'll show you what we've kind of got here. This is a tray that I've printed out that goes into the Protector Evo stations. Okay. And we chose the ones with the tray because it's quite easy for us to adapt and put our own tray in there. And so we've got our next version of the electronics is going to be fitting to that, and we want to start putting that out in the field and getting feedback from our pilot testers on how easy it is to actually use it, how easy it is to clean it, the things that we can't know as electronic engineers. We need to know right from the very end person that's using this thing, how easy is it? Because from what I've seen in the other technologies that are out there, because this isn't, well, actually, the activity part of this isn't a new idea. There's quite a lot of systems out there that detect rodent activity. You put them in stations and stuff like that. But as far as I'm aware, we are the only ones that measure the weight of the bait, which proves actual bait consumption, which to me seems like that next level of importance, the actual information that you need. Do you need to go and refill that station, or is there a lot of entries into the station but nothing's being eaten? you need to change the bait out? Do they not like it? It feels like this is the next level. So we're really pushing forward, and anybody that gets through my terrible marketing has been really excited to try it out too. So that's good, because essentially, marketing it's a tough one. There's a lot of companies out there that are doing similar things, and we all fall into the same boat. But I feel like we've got enough differentiation out there to make this worthwhile for any size company, we're hoping.
Yeah.
So that's why
to interrupt you for a second, so this is not a camera system, because most of the sensors in the market either is a camera system or it's a system that lets you know a snap has been triggered. This is actually looking at bait being eaten and weighing it in real time and giving you real feedback on where that activity is in that place. So if this would be like if you're in a farm or if you're in a big meat processing plant where you've got 40, 50 stations out, trying to figure out in real time where the rodent activity is happening, this is vital to a guy doing high-level facilities and things like that. So expound a little bit more on that, or if I understood that correctly.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. So this problem that we came across was with the pest control company in Rockhampton here, and he said that he's got like a school site with like 60 to 100 stations. Wow. And the school's quite a large area, and it can take quite a few hours for a technician to do that job, when in reality all he's doing is walking around checking stations. Right. So there's not, he spends half his time walking, where if he just spent 5 minutes walking to one out when he didn't need to go out there, then you save yourself 5 minutes every time. And it's cost over 60 stations, you start to save yourself a bit of money. And one of the other things, which is a little bit unique to Australia, is the fact that everything takes a long time to get to, because there's not very much population density here. So Rockhampton is the main city here, but we have pest control companies that drive 2 to 3 hours to go to a job.
Gotcha.
And so if they don't have to drive all that way to check if they're doing just a rodent job, then they've saved themselves quite a bit of time straight up. And that's one of the big problems that we want to solve, is getting that data out of somewhere that's quite difficult. A lot of companies rely on cell phone reception, which just isn't realistic in a lot of situations. So we've tried to work out that one, and we've got a pretty good solution. We can get about, best case scenario, we do get 20 miles, 20 miles range out of our device.
20 mile range. So this is not a Wi-Fi cell phone app. How is the person receiving that information?
So it's a bit of a two-part system, like say like it's Bluetooth, but huge range. So we have a base station, which is just like your Wi-Fi router. Sorry, can you hear me? It's just come up with unstable.
Yeah, no, I'm hearing you good.
Okay, that's all good. Yeah, so it's essentially a Wi-Fi router. It's about the same size. You stick an antenna on it, put it up as high as you can, and then inside the box is just inside your rodent station, just a tiny little antenna. You won't actually even be able to see it. In fact, it's in this little notch here that you can maybe just see. So it's inbuilt.
Okay.
But we're in a realistic situation, you might say that we only expect to get somewhere up to 3 miles, maybe up to 5 miles if it's good. The 20 miles was actually from my roof, just above me, and we drove out to the mountain range, which is 20 miles to the north. And that we couldn't go any further because there's a mountain range in the road, but there was a lookout there, and we got reliable reception from there, which was really exciting to get that range, because that's an incredible range to get on something that'll last, 2 to 5 years on a couple of AA batteries. But
wow.
In an industrial area where you don't have that line of sight, 3 to 5 miles would be pretty damn good.
Interesting. So how much, based on what you've been doing so far, as far as, so it's a lot of development, because you're building a transmitter from scratch. It's not using an existing infrastructure. So that's, like Wi-Fi or connecting in the home to a phone. That's a lot of work. I mean, how much work have you put into this as far as like total hours? I mean, this is just, it's mind blowing for me.
Yeah, fair bit. We've probably spent 8 months on this device, just kind of making sure that it works. So the technology that we use it's new, but it is established. So that's handy, but it's not something you can just pick up and plug in. It is a little bit to get your head around. It's called LoRaWAN, which quite literally stands for long range, LORA, long range. It wasn't very creative, but it's effective. And it's designed for low power usages, so you can get a really long time out of a couple of batteries, which is what you need, because you don't want to have to go and change the batteries every couple of months. That's no good. We're making sure our device lasts at least 2 years. That's our goal, and we're on track. So that's nice.
No, that's awesome. So and then as far as the weighing of this product, how is it that you guys are actually getting that done to be able to censor this and figure out what's being eaten?
So that did take a little bit to get accurate and get right. It's easy enough. So we got little load sensors on the bottom there.
Okay.
And so they just weigh. You know how you got the bait that sits vertical on the protector Evos,
right?
So the plate that goes over that, and your bait sits on that, and we weigh the whole thing. And it's just like your kitchen scales. But getting that to work in any environment was a bit challenging and accurately, and then getting the whole system together certainly took us a little while. But yeah, we're getting pretty close to having that final product.
Yeah. So what testing are you doing as far as long-term testing? It's only been 8 months. I understand, but in the case of a PMP who's buying a device like this, to be able, I guess you're in a great place in Australia because you've got deserts and places that are really hot, and then water and humidity, and dealing with all these climate problems for what appears to be a sensitive device that's weighing and transmitting signals. What do you have as far as being able to test it out there and putting it out in extreme conditions?
So remember the long-range temperature sensor I mentioned earlier in the piece?
Yeah.
That's in a Stevenson's Green little weather station, and we've actually got that on mango farms up in Darwin. And so that is, I believe it should be deployed right now. I haven't checked, but it was going out a week or two ago. And so we've got a weather protective coating on there, but that's going to be a damn good test. And we have had some in their hands for about 3 months that they've been testing now.
Okay.
And they're very happy with it. They're scientists, so they've even put it in a freezer and done temperature calibrations of their own on it. And we gave them 10, and they put them all side by side, and we're like, oh God, I hope it's all good. But they came back to us quite happy. So they're going to get some more, which is really good for us. Right. Hopefully they tell other people. But it's such a niche market, that one, that there's nobody needs a temperature sensor for their orchard. It's good for scientific research, but that's a really good test for us. And essentially the system that we built there, like the whole communication, the antenna, the processor, everything on that board is the same way that we're building our rodent sensor. So essentially we're going to be testing our design already in a different system. But when it comes to the actual rodent sensor system as well, we do have plans to make it as waterproof, as watertight as possible. But we're aware that even when you're cleaning it, and so this is another reason why we need to get these things in the hands of pest control companies, is that you hose it out, you go in there with a bit of soap or soapy water or something. You need to get the really dirty stuff out. Not only that, is that you'll have rats in there that peeing and all kinds of stuff. You're going to have some dirty stuff in there. So we really need to do those hard tests, which we haven't had completely done yet. And we're not expecting anything difficult. The current technology out there, they've enclosed their stuff pretty good, but we still need to be able to test it, especially for that cleanliness. Like, it needs to be easy for the end user.
Right.
But having that whole system together where it's easy to clean, the antenna's also in a good spot, The load bars are in a spot where you can get the bait in nicely. The load bars actually have their own waterproofing on them, so that's not too much of a worry. Changing the batteries, there's a lot of things that we're thinking through, trying to make it easier for the pest control company. But we want to have that conversation with everybody, because we can't design something that works for you without having your input, essentially.
Oh, I accidentally put you up on. I'm sorry. I'm trying to. I have Aaron Perez, who is actually in Australia. He follows me in the group. He asked the question, does it have Wi-Fi capability? I know, Aaron, he explained earlier that it is a transmission. What is that again? What is that transmission called again?
LoRaWAN. So LORA and then WAN, like Wide Area Network.
Okay. All right. So there you go, Aaron. That's the explanation there. So what are you looking at as far as between the research development you're doing now, you've already been 8 months on it, to actually having a product lining up, I guess, a manufacturer? You still have to go through that process of getting a manufacturer to make it, and then you have to set up a distribution channel. What's your ETA roughly on having this product actually in the marketplace?
It could be anywhere between 3 and 6 months. The ETA for having our prototypes out for testing is actually only like 2 weeks.
Okay.
They're going to be pretty straightforward. But one of the things we're really chasing right now is to find out what the most popular rodent stations that people would like to use this with. So for us, the Protector Evo and the ones that you showed on the channel, the Evo Express with the brick in it, so we get those external ones.
Yeah.
The VM looks, it's got the brick underneath. I actually kind of like the look of that one, but the internals of that are quite difficult to work with. So the Evo Express, that removable tray, that's pretty attractive to us. But they've got their own systems in place, so I don't know how that would work. So we're really chasing a rodent station that doesn't have existing electronics integrated with them, right, that we can join forces with. And we've had a conversation with a few people, very, very early conversations, but I'm glad they've found us and we found them, because that's pretty exciting. If we get that going, like, that's a huge problem off our shoulders, where we don't have to worry about that massive oversight of building a station. Because I watched a podcast about the VM products designing their stations, and I realized just how much work goes into making sure that the rodents are actually happy enough to go in there, because they're quite shy creatures and they don't like change. And we don't want to have to deal with that, because that's not our deal. Our deal is electronics and getting that information to you.
Right. So yeah, and I know that they're big. I mean, into innovation, and they've got their own sensor for the trap, but they don't have anything for the bait. So maybe trying to figure out, since they're a smaller manufacturer, they're quite easy to work with versus a big international brand that has its goals and things. But yeah, I like the Evo for that reason, the Express station, because you can take the plate out, dump everything, and then just put it right back in. It makes it super easy, and the weight is on the inside, so there's nothing sticking on the outside. That's the reason I like that the VM product. I've used a lot of it in the past, where we found that it was there was actually more activity in those stations. The rodents seem to go into it quicker than the other one. That just was our experience, and I saw that for months on lots of new properties that we were installing new cases. They were going into the new cases that were Evo. So I even brought that up to the rep at Bell, that we were having that experience. So it's interesting to see what the evolution of a product is in development and in marketing. Anything that you're foreseeing as far as, that you've run into a roadblock already, like, oh, this has been really difficult in the creation of this product. Anything like that is so far that you've gotten into those roadblocks that you're like, oh, how are we going to solve this problem?
Yeah, well, there's the catch-22 of price. Your price goes down with volume, but you don't get volume until you're cheap. So that's been a difficult one to predict. And then
Right.
our biggest problem at the moment is that commitment to that final tray design. So, you know, having something like this that encapsulates it all, that's injection molded, that injection molding really is a requirement when you want to make something quite weather resistant, weatherproof.
Right.
And to move to that final stage, we really want to have that feedback from pest control technicians first on the final design, so that when we make that final huge commitment to pumping out 10,000 units, because that's kind of the only thing you can do with injection molding, that we've designed the right thing that's actually going to fit the market. That's our biggest roadblock at the moment. But essentially, we're 3D printing. 3D printing isn't the perfect solution, but they are quite sturdy. They're going to do the job. It's just it literally took me 16 hours to print this. I've got an army of things, so I've been printing a fair few. But we really want to get 100 units of those out and get that going before we commit to that big one, because that's a fair investment, and you don't want to get that one wrong. It's a lot of money to go down the drain.
Right, right. No, absolutely. Yeah, so coming up with distribution, and that's another hurdle. Man, it seems like, I mean, that's a major undertaking. I know a lot of guys that have done manufacturing. I've worked in manufacturing. Launching a product is it's grueling.
Yeah.
It's a grueling process, man. I've been thinking about one product that we're thinking of, and I just can't do it for the next year or two. I just don't have the bandwidth financially nor mentally. We've tested it; it works, but getting into that manufacturing is tough.
Yeah.
So
manufacturing the electronics, that's something that my business partner's he's done before. So he actually works with refrigeration sensors. That was his business before I came along. And then I just said, look, here's a whole heap of other stuff that we're going to do now. And he's like, holy crap, this is great. So because he loves hardware, that's his
right.
It's his favorite thing to do, is sit there and figure out how to build things. And so I'm sitting here figuring out how to get it to the next stage. And with distribution and all that stuff, it is going to be a challenge. But thankfully, I got part of our local council won a government initiative for bringing local businesses into the global market, and so targeting businesses that are pretty much exactly like me. There's a few like just completely online businesses, but they've won a lot of support to have some mentors and business mentors, which has really accelerated me to be able to have
Sweet.
Be confident enough to come to you and join you on this show, and to have this kind of stuff here ready to show.
Right.
I have a website and all that kind of stuff. And one of the biggest things they've helped with is getting those distribution networks planned. And we've only just started talking. The Australian government has initiatives and grants at the moment to help us get those distribution centers out on overseas, and also help out with that shipping. Because one of the big holy crap moments that I had was watching your video, and you're like, yeah, these are the great external stations, and they got a brick on them. I'm like, how much is that going to cost to ship? It's going to be horrible. Like, we need to figure something out there, and that's where we changed from making a whole station to just making the electrics and sticking it inside something existing, and then getting that distribution network sorted. So we've got a lot of support behind us, thankfully. Otherwise, it's a very daunting task getting a whole product out there. But we've got that support behind us through government-funded things, so it's not even costing us anything, which is fantastic.
What about issues with patents and copyrights, like especially when you're talking about multiple countries?
Yeah.
If you're in Australia alone, you can do it there, but then you want to distribute in the U.S. or maybe in Asia. How are you logistically handling that, and what's been the experience there?
It's that one's really scary, because as soon as you talk to them, they want a lot of money. But we have been talking to them, and so in Australia, obviously, it's a lot easier because the time zones. In America, it's like literally midnight till 8 a.m. for us is your prime time, I believe.
Yeah.
But thankfully, one of our mentors is from the United States, and a lot of the people at the I don't know what you call it, business planning place, they do business in America too. So they've given us their lawyers' contact information and helped us figure out how to go about that. That's a huge task. I mean, you don't just get a patent in one country. It's like there's a lot of different ones to go with. But we've got provisional stuff out in Australia. With protecting our deer is especially since it's so unique. That's pretty important to us because it's my baby. Like, I came up with it. Right. It's been a long time, a lot of effort. We want to make sure that we keep that.
Of course, no, I get it. So, how many people are involved? Because I know a lot of people that want to create a product, but most of the time, everybody wants to be the solo guy that came up and masterminded and designed it, distributed it, sold it. I mean, this is it seems like you've got at least a half a dozen people involved so far in this process. What's that been like? Like, how many people are involved with you trying to get this thing done and bring to market?
Yeah, originally I wanted to do it solo. I was like, I can do it all. That's just simply not the case. You can't do it on your own. It sounds great, not a good idea. So that's I've joined forces with the other guy, the hardware. Right. So he's got way more experience than I. And it's a good match between us because I'm quite comfortable coming online and talking to you and calling people up and getting everyone's opinions, and he just wants to dive in and get the work done. And I understand him enough to get those limitations between us, so we really can narrow down what we need to do. And then when it comes to the actual pest control, like getting pest control advice, we do have someone in Rockhampton who's been following us the whole way and giving us that first-hand feedback straight away, and that's been fantastic. And then, of course, it's called the Turbo Traction Lab, that business course that I'm in. They have a lot of support there. We just send them an email and they put us in contact with someone that we need to contact. But essentially, I guess what's that, about three people and a business support group, which has been very, very helpful. Other than that, that's about us. That's about us where we're getting along. So it's been a tough journey.
I can only imagine how many hours a night you're putting into this. I mean, do you work during the day? Are you still employed and doing this, or how's that working for you?
Yeah, I was doing 1 to 2 days a week at the university, but the COVID cut that short. So I'm on holidays now, but that's all coming to an end soon.
Right,
but I'm not too concerned about that because I absolutely love this company and product and idea and all that stuff. And I'm getting so much positivity out of it. I'm like, yeah, who cares about the job? This thing's going quite well. I'm just going to really push ahead of this. I mean, this is the right time to do remote monitoring stuff, right? Like, you can't go somewhere. You just put something there to monitor it. I think this is going to replace my job and my income because, money's tight to me at the moment, but we do have that financial support there, especially with my business partner, just to get us through our prototypes and whatnot. But yeah, no, I'm lucky enough to actually have a really good setup at home too. We bought our house about 2 years ago. It had a fantastic garden. Then I realised how much effort it is to garden. So, but that's been a bit therapeutic doing all the gardening,
right?
Which takes a bit of my time. But I've got a huge shed just out the back, which is where my 3D printer is, and all my electronics out there. And so my office, moved it into the air conditioning room, but I got an office on the end of the house, and it's quite easy for me to design stuff on my computer, go out to the shed, solder some things up, and then come back in the office. It's really easy for me to work from home, and working from home, it saves you so much time. I don't go anywhere, don't do anything except clean and cook.
No, I totally get it. I've been working now from home for a year, since I don't really go out in the field anymore. So I'm just 100% in sales right now, marketing and administration. And I got the techs in the field. So I decided that's it. I'm not going out in the field anymore. I'm letting them do the work. And it's a huge advantage to be able to do this. I get to spend a lot more time with my kids, more time at home. So it is a huge benefit for me to be able to do it and be able to focus on my business versus working constantly in it. So it's liberating. I mean, I think you're living the Australian dream, because we call it the American dream. So
Yeah.
I think it's just phenomenal to be able to see, and the timing of when this thing happened. Where it could be the new norm that we're not going to be out as much for a long while until we figure all this out, that a product like this that goes to market, hey, you got to, like meat packing plants here in the U.S. have been struck really hard. We have a meat shortage right now because plants aren't open. So it's just a very, very interesting concept. You do have a unique, a very good USP on this. Let's talk about that in the marketing, because you're an engineer, and most engineers aren't thinking about product creation. They're thinking about more of working for somebody. What was the USP? How did you come up with in saying, geez, I got something that I can build that's totally unique to the marketplace? I mean, how did you develop that USP?
Well, I love tinkering. I've always tried inventing and building stuff. It's just something that I've always done. Even before I did engineering, I was at the back with the drop saw, just putting things together and seeing what would happen. So when I started my engineering degree, I had no intention of going into project management. Especially when I was a labourer. We had some really funny situations where you're just like, why on earth would you want to be an engineer? Like, they're just designing things wrong, making huge mistakes, and you're just like, what? And they're working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. They're on a salary. They're getting paid, sort of all right, but for all the work they got to do, that did not seem like an attractive option for me. So going in that direction was just never something that I wanted to do. In fact, that's what drew me to research, and that's where I got that job that I've had for 2 years, was that it's such an interesting thing. I want to do something new. Everything you want to do something new. It's fun being on the cutting edge of whatever it is you're doing, to building a table and making a new table, to building electronics and making something that hasn't been done before, or more accurately, using things in a way that hasn't been done before. That's probably the better way, because this is all existing technology. We've just put it together in a better way, and made it work, because it's all electronics is. We're putting together a big piece of puzzle, and programming it to work is quite difficult too. But I like programming. It's very structural. It's a work of art.
Yeah, I know. So, because you look like a young guy. I mean, you're what? Maybe in your 30s, early 30s?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm always curious, because I work a lot with young people and help guiding a lot of young people in careers, and just comes naturally to me. And you decided to go into engineering. At what point did you decide you got out of high school and you worked around for a while and said, I think I'll go into engineering? I mean, it's just...
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So like out of high school, I guess I drank a lot and had a lot of fun and partied around. And then I met my wife, realized that I need to get a better job. And she's quite smart. She's got a degree. She works at the university. She's doing really well. And I needed to step up. So I did. She encouraged me to go to university, and she supported me through that. So that's really good. Now I'm just got to work my ass off to get a real paying job. So that's kind of where all that motivation came from, is to make sure I keep up with my wife.
Hey, it's good. It's good motivation, man. So yeah, so that's really. And how long is, by the way, how long is it in Australia? How long is an engineering degree to get?
So it's 4.5 years all up.
Okay.
And the final year there's an honours thesis. So it's pretty close to a master's thing, but half the time, I guess.
Gotcha.
So that's what I did. My thesis was on that long range communication tracking livestock. I loved that. Actually, it was good fun. We did a lot of stuff with GPS satellites, and actually there was one company that it didn't work out for tracking cattle, but I think it would be a really great solution for wildlife trapping and stuff like that. It's a company called Myriota that does low Earth orbit satellites. And I mean, that just sounds freaking awesome to me. Like, I get to transmit stuff to satellites. And when I was doing my thesis, you had to be outside for this. It was a little bit challenging. All my measuring equipment, I put on one of those blow mold picnic tables, all this expensive equipment, stuck it out in my backyard, was staring up at the sky, waiting for the satellite to pass over because of just the amount of restrictions that were involved in transmitting this thing. That's why it failed the livestock test. But you only need to transmit twice a day for something to be effective for wildlife trapping or something like that. I'd love to play around with it, but you can get that signal from anywhere in the world. Like, as long as you got the sky, you've got signal, which is an impressive technology to chase. But that's future talk, I believe. We need to take this one step at a time and get this one sorted.
Yeah, no, I mean, wildlife guys have the same challenge because they don't know. They got to check those traps in some states because of the laws. I mean, they got to check those traps like every so many hours or so many days. And, something like that would, there's already a couple of sensors out that would sense the trap going off.
There's a few good ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I originally went to the local pest control company, I wanted to do possum traps or, cat traps and simple stuff like that, because it's just a cage with a door. It's open or it's closed.
Yeah.
There's nothing else. It's such an easy thing to build. And he's like, there was no interest in that for him, because if you catch a possum, you can't do anything with it. You have to release it in the same location. So, there's not really much point in making something that catches it, since you just have to release it in the same location, and you have required to check the station every day. And unless we can change laws to change that, then we don't have a product that's very useful. So that was why it was good to go talk to pest control companies before you make something that doesn't work. Which actually, that's a point that I want to make. While I was doing my work at the university, I did have to deal with a lot of startup companies, and what I found was they would come to us and say, "Here's a solution. We can track livestock. We've solved the problem." And as the tech guy, it was my job to get it sorted, get it ready. And these are startups; they don't have any instructions. It was meant to just plug in and work, and it just never worked. Never did. It was the right pain to get this stuff going. And that's a kind of a promise I made to myself when I started this business, that I wouldn't come crashing into an industry like I'm doing now and say, I've solved your problem, here's the solution, it's just going to work. I want to interact with as many people as I can to make sure this is the right solution, so that I don't have all these people with something that doesn't work and I end up with just another startup out there that's got tech that they take 3 years to get off the ground, because it turns out it didn't work the first time, which is what we dealt with. It was constant.
Right.
There was a couple of companies there. It was a few years, and they still didn't have something that worked because they thought they fixed it the first time. And that's not a good mindset to have going in. You need to be flexible and be able to react quickly and get a lot more feedback.
Right. Yeah. No, that's key to getting the feedback, getting the buy-in on whether this product is even. We got a lot of great ideas, but they're not either the wrong time or not really enough interest. And I think we're coming into that age now where people are interested in that efficiency. I mean, you got it. You got 300 traps, 300 stations laid out in a facility. Man, that's a lot of labor to figure out, walking through a facility when it's busy. You can spend a half a day easily. And that's a lot of labor. So no, I think it's a brilliant concept. I love the idea. It'd be fun for, when you're in the next phase of development, when you're ready to start maybe manufacturing, to come back on and talk to us about where you're at in this process, and what what you're accomplishing and all that, to see if, we get a lot of interest. Right now we're going to put it out and we'll see. You'll be able to see it on YouTube and see the response on this, on what's going on. But how do people who are interested in getting in touch with you, maybe doing testing or maybe distribution or manufacturing, get a hold of you? Yeah,
well, so we've got our website and we've got a subscription to a newsletter down the bottom if you just want to quietly tag along and see what we're up to. But at the very top, there's a pilot program application. And if you fill out that, it's pretty straightforward, just your name, email, and your company, and a little bit about you. I'd like to get on the phone with you. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I really want to interact with people and get your thoughts. That's one of the most important things I believe in this at this stage. And then we'll follow it through to seeing which companies have the best use case scenarios. So we want to see which industries, like pharmacy or food, like a food area, or I don't know, bakery. I know with food production, there's a lot of you can't have rodenticide inside and interesting things like that. But we also want to try to find places that have like a residential area that's just in the middle of nowhere that takes you forever to go to. We want to find those use case scenarios that will really work in our favor of seeing where this fits in the market. And everybody that I've spoken to has quite a few sites that they think are perfect, which is great to hear that there's a lot of situations out there, because this will be ideal for certain situations, but there'll be a situation where this isn't ideal. But we want to make sure that, especially when it comes to our marketing, that we can make it obvious where this fits in your business, because we want to make sure that it's different to really differentiate from the current existing things, which they detect activity. You get activity, you got to go check it. You don't actually know what's happening in there besides there's been something there. Could have been a rat, could have been a mouse.
Right.
Could have been something else.
Yeah. What's the website address?
So rodent sensor, that's rodent, RODENT sensor, all one word, SENSOR.com.
.com. Excellent.
We also have a Facebook page.
You got a Facebook page? Is it by the same name?
Yep.
Okay, so we should
Exactly
be able to get you. And do me a favor also, shoot me an email if you've got all your social media accounts and all that. We'll link them into the video for you and get all that activity going around it. It'd be interesting, man. I'm super excited about this. It's a great idea. It's a great product. Super excited for you that you're able to launch it and do something that most people dream their whole life of doing and never actually do. So you are at an awesome place, being your 30s.
Launching product.
Yeah, it's awesome to be in that place at your age and be able to get this going. So I'm super excited for you. I wish you the best luck in the world.
Cheers.
All right, man. So we'll talk to you soon, man. And anything you want to say, by the way, that I didn't ask, or anything you want to talk about? I still got time, so it's all yours.
I think we covered everything quite well. I don't know if it's worth mentioning, but I've joined a few Facebook groups and I'm listening out there to see what's going on. But I did create my own group called the Rat Pack. It's not looking fancy at the moment. It's just there's no cover photo on it. I've only just thought of the idea. But I really want to get talking about technology and pest control, and I'm talking anything. I've seen there's like new insect, fruit fly counting AI stuff, and I want to know what's out there and just discuss where technology is going. Just a generic, what's the future of pest control kind of group, and maybe discuss what you want out of new technology in pest control. I've been asking people, what's your perfect rodent station? Put that up on there, discuss amongst yourselves, and we'll see what we can do. Like, we want to keep on going in this field. Like, it's great. It's a great field to put technology into. I love solving problems. That's what we want to do. So if you really want to talk about that with us without calling us or anything, the Rat Pack, give it a shot.
Sounds like a plan. I want to go ahead and link all that up. Shoot me all that info in an email. We'll link it all up. We'll put it out there. I'd be more than interested to see what's happening with that too. I just was thinking, snakes, man. Be able to figure out something to trap snakes and know when there's a snake in there. I mean, I know that's big in Australia. It's big in certain parts of this country. People always have issues with snake repelling or figuring out something with snakes. I mean, if you can hone in on a snake frequency, a radio frequency and repel that sucker, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So, hey man, it's been a real
Snakes here as
blast
well.
talking to you. I'm sorry?
We got a lot of snakes in this area, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know. I watch a lot of videos from guys in Australian groups, pest control groups there in Australia, and I know snakes is a major thing. So there you go. There's probably your next big idea. Figure out something with snakes.
I'll let you know how we go.
All right, man. Hey, I know it's late at night. I know you got to get to bed too. You got other stuff you want to work on. So I really appreciate your time coming on and being with us.
All right, thanks for having me. I'll catch you later.
All right, my friend. Take care, Dylon. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Pest Geek Podcast. If you have enjoyed the Pest Geek Podcast, please give us a rating, write a review, or subscribe to the channel. You can join the Pest Geek Society by visiting pestgeekpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. See you next time.